My name is Laxmi Prasad and I work with Infosys, and I want to talk to you about one of our exciting products, Flip, which is a converged application marketplace. I want to start by talking about convergence. So what we observe in the world today, there is a vast explosion of devices with a lot of processing power and amazing capabilities that users are able to get their hands on. And if you also look at the other end of the spectrum, the networks over which these devices operate, they are also getting converged. So instead of having dedicated service providers for TV or for mobile or for a fixed landline or so on, we have one single converged provider who is able to give a triple play or a quad play offering. So there are advancements happening in the field of networks and in the field of devices. So what has happened as a result of this is the end customers, with their hands on amazing devices and the access to amazing networks, they have become more and more discerning by the day. And they look for specific experiences that is more relevant and targeted to them, and they seek these experiences which can leverage the power of their devices and can help them accomplish all the goals that they look forward to. And for this purpose, they look towards app stores to look for specific experiences that they can download. But there is a limitation with app stores. App stores, they work on a model of one size fits all. So they have a store of all apps which they provide, and users can search and download what they want. They don't target their offering for the end user. And the other thing is, most of the app stores, if you see, they are very focused, or they cater to a particular platform of devices. So there is no convergence, if you see, because the app stores, they work only for a particular platform. So what the user needs is, he has all these amazing devices working on different platforms like Android or iPhone or so many other platforms, and he wants a way in which these devices can work in close synergy with each other and help him manage his life, his experiences, and his information in a converged manner. And that is where Flip comes in. Flip is a unique, one of its kind, converged app marketplace. So what does Flip do? In a converged world, the focus is shifting from the devices to the end customer, to the information and the preferences and the experiences that relate to the end customer. So what happens here is the people who provide the content and the people who provide the information which is relevant to the end customer are the consumer brands, the ad sponsored content, the commerce and information, and the social network interaction people. So they hold the repository of content which the user wants, and he wants it to be accessible on all his devices, irrespective of whatever platform it is. So this is where Flip brings together an ecosystem of partners with their repository of content, and who are searching for actually the targeted group of end users to whom they can actually deliver their content and make a profitable model out of it. It organizes it into relevant structured categories which we have in the app stores today, and Flip goes even further to identify unique profile driven and lifestyle theme driven grouping of experiences and apps and information and offering to the end customer. And so as a result, what happens is the end customer gets a personalized and a relevant experience and information delivered to him across all his converged handsets, and he is able to use it across all mediums. So that's the unique factor of Flip. It converges and delivers across all kinds of devices, across all kinds of platforms. So how did Flip evolve? If you look at the journey, Flip started as an app store. We were retailing and delivering apps to devices, and then it was just a delivery. So it was just like, you go to a shop, you ask for bread and you get bread. So we then move on and we give an enhanced search and app discovery and delivery mechanism. So by which, we categorize apps, users can browse, users can search on keywords, users can have a more intuitive experience of discovering apps and deliver to them. And now today, Flip has even evolved further to involve concepts of personalization, of relevance, and of convergence, which makes it an app marketplace and not an app store. An app store is only a repository of apps, and it can be sold to anyone who wants, but it works, like I said, only on a particular platform. Whereas an app marketplace is a concept more than a store, and what it does is it brings together the partners, it creates an ecosystem which can tailor the content and deliver content to relevant end users. So how does Flip differentiate? Like I mentioned, there is personalization, relevance, and convergence, which forms the three basic principles of how an app store evolves into an app marketplace. If you take examples of some of the convergence use cases we have, the pretty straightforward ones, like take the video chat for instance. There is a use case where a large TV service provider wants to implement a video chat functionality for his end customers. So typically what he would need to do is he would need to invest a lot of money to buy devices which he can sell to his end customers. Let us say it costs around $20 to $30 for the set-top box provider or the TV service provider to invest in the devices, and let's say he has a customer base of around 500,000. So that's a lot of investment that he is already doing in order to implement a simple video chat functionality to enhance his service experience and to enhance his service offering to the end customer. How can Flip help here? Flip goes for convergence. Flip says that we have the TV today with its existing capabilities. TV has certain restrictions, but it is also good and it is also best suited for certain kind of experiences. And we have the mobile, which is also suited for certain kind of experiences. The mobile is good for interactive purposes, whereas the TV is good for actually for viewing and for browsing purposes. So why not we converge them, and why not we enable a convergence to happen by which, using the mobile, the user is able to connect using the camera which is already there in his mobile. He is able to send his picture through Flip, and it can be shown to the end user in the other side, his friend, and while his friend connects the same way, he could see his data being transmitted to the end customer and be shown in his TV. So he could interact with him through a mobile, and he could see everything and experience everything through a TV. So that's how convergence at really no extra cost and leveraging what we have today can help achieve the same case with zero investment. That's one of the examples. There are many more examples, like an easy share of picture. Imagine, let's say if I'm going to be traveling outside and I take a picture with my mobile phone and I immediately send a notification to Flip, through which what happens, my family back home, they're able to immediately get notified and view it in their TV, and they're able to comment on it, and they're able to share it with other friends. Also, I can also directly upload the pictures from my mobile phone directly into a repository in Flip, which I can access from anywhere, anytime. That's another example. Third is a very interesting thing we are working on. It's called the gestures. So one of the greatest applications of convergence could be is that, if you look at the TV, it gives a good UI for viewing data, but the remote control which we use to navigate through TV is pretty, it's not very advanced. It's very simple. So it needs a lot of elementary navigation to be done even to do a simple operation. Instead of this, we all have touch phones today. How would it be if we can use the touch phones to do gesture-based movements, which can translate into commands that get executed and operations that can be performed on the TV? That gives a whole new kind of experience through which we can leverage convergence to give a more enhanced viewing experience and accessing experience for the user. The mobile textpad and TV viewing. While a person is viewing a TV and he wants to chat or send an email message, we could also use the mobile to type the email message, and we could send it where it could be seen on the TV. So the TV could again be used as a platform for viewing, whereas the other devices which have their own specific unique capabilities can be used for leveraging those capabilities to give a converged experience. So these are all some of the examples of how convergence can really give a cost-effective solution through Flip in order to solve the same problems that we have today and we try to invest a lot of money in. The next important aspect towards moving towards a social converged app marketplace is the relevance concept. Like I said, customers today have a lot of smart devices and amazing processing power in their hands, and they have the access to great powerful networks. So what happens is they become more and more discerning. They want content delivered to them that is more relevant to them. If you take any app store, typically like the Apple Store or Android or anything, they have a lot of apps. They have about 300,000, 400,000 apps in their repository. It is always the case that no user needs all the 300,000, 400,000 apps at the same time. And it is always the case that He spends a lot of time finding out the most relevant app that suits his needs and wants. And sometimes, while he does this search and it results in not being able to find an app, the experience of searching through the app store is also eventually ending up in a disappointment for the end user. So this is where an app marketplace can be of difference. An app marketplace can try to identify intuitively the most relevant kind of apps and experiences that a user might want and deliver it to him and show it to him. So this makes the app discovery, the experience discovery, and the delivery mechanism more successful and more appreciated by the end user. And so this leads to a better appreciation of the whole Flip marketplace itself by the end user. Different kinds of relevances are possible. So what's happening around me? We see a lot of events happening around us. We could deliver experiences and apps, and we could give recommendations about apps, about events happening in our area to the end user. So that might be relevant to him. Demographic, what's for me? So if the user belongs to a particular category of people, he is a working person, he's a working woman, she's a housewife, he's a retired person. So what kind of apps suit these kind of people? So that we can identify intuitively and show it to him. There is a better probability that the user might download and use apps when delivered this way, rather than show a generic app store offering where he has to search and find out all by himself. Contextual, is it related to what I do? The kind of work I do? Am I a student? Do I study? Is this app related to something that I'm studying? Something like that. Is this my buddy's taste? This is another very interesting aspect. This gives the social aspect to the converged app marketplace, which is also one of its biggest selling factor. Most of us make important decisions in our life based on what our friends and close people that we know do. If you want to buy a car, for instance, we look at what our friends do. We ask them for their opinion. So that's the kind of relevance factors that I'm talking about that can be brought into the app marketplace. The next thing is the personalization. We all know about the like button and the unlike button that we see in Facebook. But of course, if you look at preferences as such, it's more than just like and unlike, because life as such is not binary, it's more than that. So there is behavior-based preferences and mood changes, and based on this also again the kind of tastes and preferences and likes change. And also again here we have an influence of buddy's behavior. We are all friends with the same kind of people who share the same kind of attitudes. So we all have the same kind of tastes. So we can try to find out these kind of preferences also, which can personalize the kind of apps that we deliver to the end user. There are a lot of business benefits of doing this, which I already elaborated through these slides. Convergence is a way we're going to go forward that's going to define how the industry evolves. So as a sustainable business model, it creates an intelligent app marketplace with a lot of opportunity and innovation to create real business and social value. What happens is the Flip social marketplace itself is a very innovative offering that leverages on convergence and on relevance and personalization, and it creates an immense amount of opportunity for a lot of ecosystem operators and players and industry, commerce, app developers, content providers, app store, ad developers, everyone, to create innovative offerings that can target to a particular relevant group of customers and can be delivered to them directly. This way, a lot of benefits is being achieved by all the people involved in the model. There's a benefit achieved by the operator, there's a benefit achieved by all the players and the commerce players in the market, and to the end customer, he gets a very highly relevant and converged offering, which ultimately enhances his experience, and there is increased stickiness to the same Flip instead of moving to other app stores and other models.
What is the relevance of the white label marketplace in an ecosystem in which you have Googles and Facebooks of the world directly getting involved? So there is a David Goliath issue here as to what is Infosys' own sustainability issues in this thing. Because this to me seems like an eBay for, what eBay is to online shops for t-shirts or things you become for apps. So to that extent, it's there as a white label engine, but why would anyone want to use a white label engine when there are bigger players already with a market lead in that? The other thing which I had was about content discovery. You're talk too much about personalization and not so much about the serendipity. Basically, a peer group influenced decisions are essentially a very trial and error kind of thing. It's a very 20th century way of looking at things. It's very backward. How would you answer that question? If as Steve Jobs says, if I do not know what I want, how are you going to create that for me?
Okay. So as an answer to your first question, if you look at the app stores provided by Google or Apple or any of the other major players in the market, like I mentioned in the slide, they cater to a set of devices that are from the same platform. So what happens is, as an end customer, I am restricted or I am constrained to be part of the same platform and buy devices that work on the same platform in order to continue to enjoy the experience offered by them. So here is where Flip makes a difference. It's a converged app marketplace. If you look at Google and Apple store today, it's still a store. They have a one-size-fits-all set of applications that can be delivered to a whole range of devices, but from the same platform. They do not go very deep into trying to find the most relevant or the most personalized set of offering of apps or the way they configure the apps and display to you on the store. If anybody logs into an Apple store, they have just a broad set of categorization. Top 10, top 25 most downloaded, most featured. It's a very common generic structuring of apps. As an app marketplace, what we are trying to do is we are trying to go one step further. We are trying to get the analytics of user profile preferences and lifestyle themes, concept of lifestyle themes, into way we group the apps further to give a more tailored and more relevant offering to the end customer. The concept of lifestyle theme is that, again, if you take the same app store example, if you have about 300,000, 400,000 apps, you may not know what you're looking for actually, but you may actually be trying to solve a particular problem. So what Flip does here is, it is able to, from its store, identify a group of apps that can potentially solve a problem and present it to you as a lifestyle theme. A typical example is, you want to buy a house. So you could have an app that will give you an access to banks that can show you the home loan rates. You have an app that can show you the property listings. You have an app that can show you people who are selling their second-hand home, selling their houses somewhere, which you could probably buy. So things like that. So these are all grouped together into an intelligent offering called lifestyle themes and offered to you. These are all some things that are still not there in the other app stores, I would say, or maybe in a very elementary level. And what we've already done is we've gone further than the normal structuring of apps, and we give a more personalized and tailored offering through the examples I mentioned to you.
So at this point, the USP is the OS and device independent nature of the platform.
Not only that, it's also the kind of personalization, relevance, and convergence. I'm trying to harp on the same points again because that's the concepts that's the fundamental concepts that define the evolution of App Store into app marketplaces, and that's where we are.
So I had a couple of questions also. I think first one was similar to the OTT one that Madhavan already asked.
Right.
What about interworking and interoperability across platforms? So you're talking about multi-screen. Mm-hmm. You've got Android in there already. And
yes.
so how do you ensure? I mean, do you test across devices, across platforms?
Right.
And you have an extensive lab, obviously, to do very extensive testing on that. Right. And what about, I mean...
Your question on interoperability, you're referring to more of how we interface with existing systems, is it?
Yeah, I mean, for the app developers. Are you interfacing with the app developer community?
Right, we have our own extensive app developer community.
Right.
And if you look at the Infosys website, and if you go to Flip, you would also see a direct link to the internet website where anybody, anywhere could register as potential developers. And there is a process that follows. They get validated, they get registered, and then they are given the APIs, and they're given some directions on how they can develop apps. And then they submit it to us once they use the APIs and develop apps. And then we review it, and we verify if it's secure and all the other legitimate checks we need to do. And then it's uploaded in the store, in the marketplace, available for everyone.
Okay, it seems you're offering more services to the app developers, right? For the ecosystem development you mentioned. So is it like business model monetization, for example, of apps? Are you helping them?
We offer SDK to the developers to use the capabilities of the platform. The platform itself has a lot of capabilities. like the social capability. It has its own commerce capabilities and security aspects. So there are a lot of things. Instead of the developers developing again in their apps, they can reuse the power of the platform, and by that way their apps also get more performant.
Okay, one last question. What about very local, hyper-local apps? What are you doing for very regional and to encourage that community?
That's the concept of relevance I was talking about. One of the concepts of relevance, let me just. So what's happening around me? So what's happening around me is a very broad term. It looks up the area that a person is in, and it delivers advertisement, it delivers content, and it delivers apps recommendation that are available in the Flip system to the end user based on the location of the end user. So it can, if you are in Las Vegas, it could probably show you some gambling related apps, something like that, for instance. Yes.
And that is what I think
Exactly.
is your apps. So that
Exactly.
is what Mr. Madhavan's observation is right, but Steve Jobs had a answer to that. And that is the Apple.
It's part of the media problem. I work with the media.
Right, sir.
Question is, in my business, it's not just about what the customer wants, it's also what the customer ought to know.
Ought to know, exactly.
That's other meta issues which are different from paying about consumers' problems. That's a different story.
Anyway, so the concept of relevance is in a way addressing the question of what the customer might potentially want, right? And also we are also working towards creating interest networks in the system, which will give the customer a lot of information through which he can make an informed decision of what he might want.
Yeah, start with the question on privacy.
Thank you. In terms of business, we have, if you have heard of Aircel Pocket Apps. Correct. After that, we've been working very hard on convergence, and we've reached a point now where we have a very good solution, and we are working with a lot of TV-based service providers and also mobile-based service providers across the world. We're trying to understand, they're very excited about this converged offering because they understand that the revenue that they get from just offering the network and the capability of the network is very saturated. There are a lot of players in the market, so they need a differentiating factor, and that's where when they're able to provide a marketplace and sit on top of it, and they're able to enable commerce to happen, and they're able to get a percentage of of the transaction of benefit that happens. That's a lot of good revenue that's coming in. So they're very excited about this model, and we are closely working with them to see how we can tailor their requirements and so on. Right. Yeah. After Aircel, we are still working on them. All right. Yeah. We recently won a big deal in Zain, Bahrain. And that's one of the, like I was telling you, they're very excited about it, and it's one of the first steps in a long journey of what we're planning to do